Welcome to episode 67 of Shane Talks Earth Movies Day. Because today's Earth Day. At least it is the day that this is being released. I am joined, as always, by the best co-host ever, Jason L. Maier. And did you happen to see the new intro to the episode? And no, I'm not trying to kiss Micah's ass again. I mean, I do that plenty, but I've updated the video that goes with Micah's awesome music. Changed out some of the images that are inside the film reels. I've got some of our new logos up in there, and I've got a bunch of pictures from our more recent guests that we've had on. So, moving forward, we're gonna have a new intro to the show visually, and I'm really happy with it. I especially like having the Oscars pictures in there and stuff like that. So, and your Jason Talks pictures are in there now. Which we've got another Jason Talks coming up here pretty soon, so you better start planning what musical-related episode that's going to be.
No.
Not musical-related this time?
I don't even know if we're doing a Jason Talks episode.
We're going to do a Jason... it's on the calendar for coming up in May. You're going to do a Jason Talks episode. Anybody who's ever listened to this podcast knows that I like shticks. I like ridiculous stuff. You might not be aware of this, but I do. So since this episode is being released on Earth Day, I thought, what's better than talking about movies that have the word Earth in the title? What are you going to say? What do you want to say?
I have seen very little movies that have the title Earth.
Well, we're going to spend this episode proving to Jason Richardson that there are good movies with the word Earth in the title. There's some, man. Come on, you're better than that.
I just haven't seen them. That's okay.
No, it's good. We're gonna prove Jason Richardson wrong. So, in our poll, it was not a very popular poll. We didn't get a whole lot of votes. So we're gonna start off in the sci-fi genre. Apparently, probably a lot of people agree with Jason Richardson. Probably a lot of people don't really care about these Earth-related movies. But again, it's my shtick for this week. So let's look at some Earth-related movies because we got a lot of science fiction ones that we can start talking about. First of all, I'm drinking Liquid Death again this week. Another nod to Jason Richardson. Liquid Death is delicious. All right. Our most votes getting Earth movie is...
This reminded me of Billy Madison. Where he's like, how about you, Sideburns? You want some of this milk? And he's like, I'd rather have a beer. Like, that's totally Shane while he's drinking that Liquid Death.
Yeah,
I'd
definitely.
rather have a beer.
I'd definitely rather be having a beer right now. Jason, do you know the phrase, Klaatu Barada Niktu?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
You were never made to watch the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, ever?
Nope.
No? All right. Okay. It's one I know. I know for a fact I watched it in one of my film classes at IUPUI, but obviously not the one that you and I took together. It was probably because I took a couple with Kenneth Saylor. But
I don't remember.
I can't remember if it's the same class that you were in or not. But I know I watched it there. I know I had seen it at some point before then, but I honestly probably haven't watched the original since then. This one, directed by Ray Weiss, who is known mostly because he was the editor of Citizen Kane, and then he directed two really huge musicals, The Sound of Music and West Side Story. So
Robert Wise?
Oh, Robert Wise. What did I just say?
You said Ray Weiss.
Oh, I was thinking, my mind was obviously on Twin Peaks at that point. So yeah, Robert Weiss. Thank you for correcting me there. Michael Rennie is a dude named Klaatu. He's an alien that shows up on Earth with his robot Gort. And the phrase Klaatu Barada Niktu is the phrase that Klaatu tells the main chick to go tell Gort to make sure that Gort doesn't destroy the world. So the film was yeah, go ahead.
Go with what you were about to say.
I was about to say that it was remade in 2008, starring Keanu Reeves as Klaatu, and that version was directed by Scott Derrickson, who would go on to do Doctor Strange for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, that 2008 version was really bad. I didn't care for that one at all. Now, what were you about to say?
Did they do the same thing in that one where that phrase had to be said to him so he wouldn't destroy the world?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay.
Did you see the 2008 version?
No.
No. What
I
made you
stayed away
skip
from
that?
it.
Why?
Huh?
Why'd
I
you skip
did.
it?
Because it looked like shite.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, the original is a classic, like as far as like 1950s science fiction goes, like it's better than Plan 9 from Outer Space. But I mean, yeah, it was yeah. The original War of the Worlds, like, was that just like not a sci-fi genre you cared about? Like the
I did
50s?
not.
Okay.
Yeah, that was not something I watched when growing up. So
Gotcha. So in the original, both of them are kind of like how do I put it? Like the writers tried to use modern political agenda stuff in both plots. So for the original, it had a lot to do with the Cold War and us against Russia and stuff. And then in the 2008 remake, they decided to update it to the world is bad because we're polluting the world. So it was very environmental. And that's why, Klaatu had to come and decide if we were worthy of still being a planet or not. But yeah.
I'm so glad that I didn't watch either one of those then.
All right. Well, let's move on to a 2011 film, one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and it's super low budget. And I understand why a lot of people haven't seen it. And I understand why it doesn't appeal to a lot of people. But you know me, like this is my shtick here. Like this is my kind of sci-fi, and this is a movie that made me fall in love with Britt Marling. We're talking about the movie Another Earth. It came out in 2011. It was directed by a guy named Mike Cahill. Him and Britt Marling did a couple of movies together, like The Sound of My Voice. And then she did another movie with a guy that worked with the two of them. She did a movie called The East. They were all kind of their little low budget, projects and whatnot. But in Another Earth, Britt Marling plays a like genius chick that's really smart at astronomy and stuff. She gets into like college super early. And so she's 16 and gets in a car accident because she's drunk driving. She ends up killing a woman and a kid. And then the court records are sealed, so the husband who survived the car accident never found out who it was that hit him, which I don't really think that's how that works. Not that I know everything about legal stuff and whatnot, but I think he would still be entitled to know who it was that hit and killed his wife and kid. But anyway, somehow years later, she ends up running into him, and she knows who he is, but obviously he doesn't know who she is. So they strike up a friendship that becomes a romance. And while that's going on, boom, a mirror Earth appears right above Earth. And so Earth in the main story starts talking to Earth in the other Earth. And so they then decide that each one of the Earths is going to pick like 10 people, and they're going to let them come over to the other Earth to see what's different on the Earths. So our main character chick, she wins, like you have to write an essay, and then they take 10 of the essays, and those are the 10 people that get the tickets to go to the other Earth. She decides to give the guy who lost his wife and kid, she decides to give him her ticket so that he can go to the other Earth and see if his wife and kid are still alive over there. So it's super slow. It's super low budget. I think it's only like 90 minutes long, but it probably feels longer than that because it is kind of a very slow, drawn-out movie that just kind of boils over to the going over to the other Earth to see if your life would be any different. And then it's got, I wouldn't call it a twist ending, but it's got a surprise ending in the last couple minutes. So I really enjoy it. It's a super good science fiction film, in my opinion, but it's also not for everybody. So that is Another Earth, which is one of my favorite sci-fi films. Next up, a Disney movie from 1988. It was like the Sunday night Disney movie for like 2 weeks in a row. It was 2-hour blocks, so like 4 hours, but it was only like a 3-hour movie. This movie, Earth Star Voyager, is available in its entirety on YouTube. Search Earth Star Voyager 1988. You can watch this whole masterpiece. Jason, have you seen it?
No.
No? Oh man, this is one you should watch. This is one you should show the kids. It's like I said, it's Disney. There's nothing inappropriate in it, but it's literally about a bunch like Earth is dying, because that's the plot of every science fiction Earth movie. Earth is dying, so we have found another planet that's 33 years away, and it looks like it's inhabitable for humans. So they decide to take a bunch of kids who are really smart, put them on this spaceship with a few adults, but they're sending them out there as kids because it's going to be like a 60-year round trip, to get out there, find out if it's inhabitable, and then come back and tell us. So it's designed for kids. It's kids Star Trek. It's kids going out into space. The captain, who is an adult, obviously something happens to him. There's a lot of sabotage going on the ship, so it's kind of like, oh, is there somebody that doesn't want this mission to happen? So it's kind of got like a little mystery wrapped around it. Once they get out into space and are kind of on their own, they find out that there's definitely somebody trying to sabotage their mission, and it's fun, man. I watched this a lot as a kid. The CGI obviously doesn't hold up today, but it was cool in 1988. Like, they've got like I wouldn't call them lightsaber whips, but like they've got like these whips that look like, they glow like lightsabers and whatnot, and got a lot of sci-fi stuff to it. So I'm a big fan of this movie. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially people with kids. Pull that YouTube up and watch this, man. It's 3 hours of fun. Really good character development and stuff like that. Our next movie is a 2007 film called The Man from Earth, which I was only ever made aware of because our mutual friend Jay Hampton is a huge fan of this movie. For years told me I needed to watch it. I can't remember how long ago I finally did, but I know probably I'd say in the last 5 years. It was before COVID, but probably not too long before COVID. I did finally watch the movie, and it's pretty cool. And what's really cool about this movie, I'm assuming you haven't seen it.
You are correct.
Okay. I did find where it was available. It's available to stream for free on Vudu and Tubi. So this movie you can watch for free. It's only like 90 minutes long. But what's really cool about it is it's written and directed by a guy who wrote a Star Trek, the original series episode back in the 1959, I think it was, or something. And the Star Trek episode dealt with Kirk and Spock going down to a planet and finding a guy living there. And throughout the course of like hanging out with this guy, like they're looking around and they're like, oh, this painting looks like a Da Vinci painting. How did it end up all the way out here? And then like they're looking at sheet music on his piano and they're like, these are like Brahms symphonies that are like handwritten on these sheets of paper. Like, how did this end up here? All boils down to the fact that you find out that this guy that they're hanging out with is like 6,000 years old. He is originally from Earth. And once he found out he was immortal, he just kind of started living his life. And he actually was Da Vinci and he actually was Brahms. And he just kind of kept taking on these personas and trying different things in his life. And then eventually, I don't remember how, but he ends up out in outer space, and that's where they come into contact with him. So the plot of The Man from Earth, the 2007 like super low budget movie, is this professor at a university is retiring. So he has all of his colleagues come over to his house one night. They're having a dinner party, and he explains to them, or he throws out to them, hey, just to let you guys know, I'm like 4,000 years old. I've seen a lot of stuff, like yada, yada, yada. All of his colleagues like don't really believe him, so they start asking him questions because they're all like from different different stuff. Yeah, exactly. So they try to ask him questions that like he shouldn't really know, but he like answers them all, and they're like, "Oh, you obviously just read about this stuff, or you've heard about this or whatever." So it turns into a like he's trying to prove to them that he's really that old, and they're very disbelieving of him. And then like the last. It is a very dialogue heavy thing. Like it's only got the one setting, like they never leave his house, all dialogue, all him trying to convince them that he's this old. And then it as a viewer, I'll say the last, 20% of the movie kind of steers you in the answer of whether it's true or not, but it still kind of lets you decide if you really believe it for yourself or not. So it's another sci-fi movie that I obviously highly recommend. Again, it's super short, quick and easy. But the really cool thing about this movie is like it was done like super low budget. I think it was like a $200,000 budget or something. It ended up somehow getting uploaded to BitTorrent and getting like millions of people downloading it, like to the point where the director publicly went out and said, "Hey, BitTorrent, I appreciate the fact that my movie was on your platform because millions of people have seen it that never would have paid the money to see it." And like apparently like they saw like an uptick in like DVD sales and stuff like that, and they're accrediting that to people seeing it and sharing it on BitTorrent. So thought that was kind of cool.
Interesting.
Mark Stratton, one of our former employees, suggested this next movie, which is a movie called The Man Who Fell to Earth, a 1976 British film starring David Bowie and Rip Torn. Have you seen this one?
Nope.
Nope. I saw it once a long time ago when I went through a very small period of loving David Bowie, and I watched it. Not really super memorable for me. I know they are remaking it right now with Chiwetel Ejiofor for Showtime. They're turning it into a miniseries, so I'd be interested in revisiting the movie because I always do that before I, watch remake type stuff because I have to, ruin the remake for me, right?
Absolutely, that's what you do every time.
But yeah, so that's one that I probably should look into soon. I feel like you've seen Journey to the Center of the Earth, the 2008 Brendan Fraser version.
And you would be absolutely wrong on that.
Oh man, you didn't even watch that?
No.
Where were you working in 2008? Were you at an art house in 2008?
I was at an art house in 2008.
That explains why you didn't watch it.
Yep, I would have probably watched it. And it's not something that I'm like staying away from. It's definitely in the wheelhouse of things that I'd be interested in. So
it's fun, but it's nothing special. I was happy to see Brendan Fraser closer to the Mummy type role than some of his stuff that he's done, but nowhere near as good as his Mummy role. So
your little note here, the sequel was just called Journey to the Mysterious Island, by the way. It did not have the word Earth in it.
Yeah.
So we don't even need to talk about that film, is what your note says. But I will say that I did watch that one.
Oh, because it has a rock in it.
It had The Rock in it. It was in 3D at Glendale while we had it. And dirty old
I never
man.
saw it.
Dirty old man time, but Vanessa Hudgens does it for me. And she was in that. And yeah, she was probably just of age maybe at that point in time. With my luck, she was probably not. But yes, Vanessa Hudgens is a babe. So
I got you. So far, we've talked about a couple of movies with Earth in the title, and you've seen none of them, but you've seen the sequel to one that I said we didn't need to talk about. So I'm at least happy that you had something to say.
Absolutely. So yeah, that came out in 2012.
Okay.
Journey 2 did. And she would have been a whole whopping. She was 24 by then. Woohoo! I don't have to feel so bad.
Perfectly legal. No reason to feel bad for that. We do have another kids movie to talk about that I'm pretty sure we watched together in 2014. Did you watch Earth to Echo? I'm pretty sure you and I watched it together.
Oh, that was the
it's the found footage.
Yeah, but it was don't tell me.
Yep.
It was almost like Flight of the Navigator, right?
Kind of.
Like we kind of got that vibe from it while we were watching the movie. Yeah. I did watch this one, Earth to Echo.
It was the little white egg looking thing that the kids find, and then the
alien.
Yeah. But and I remember when we got done watching the movie, the movie itself was better than I expected. I had really low expectations for it. But my big problem with the movie was the found footage aspect of it. If they had just done it as a regular narrative movie, I feel like it would have been just a good movie, a fine, solid movie. The found footage aspect of it, where they were I don't know if they were kids on their cell phones or what it was, but it was shaky cam, which doesn't really bother me. I just feel for this movie, it took it out of my feeling for actually enjoying the process of the movie. But do you have any memory of that being a found footage movie?
I just remember it being a cute film. Yeah. I don't remember much else about it at all. That's what we said. We said it was E.T. meets Flight of the Navigator. That's what we were trying to, or we were kind of. Anyway, keep going.
Mark Stratton suggested another movie. I have not seen this one. This one is a movie called Not of This Earth, which was directed by Roger Corman. It falls into that same, what was it, a 1957 movie? It falls into that same 50s black and white science fiction stuff. But reading the plot of it sounds like something that I actually think I'm going to try to seek this movie out and watch it. It sounds kind of interesting. It's only 50 some minutes long, so it's basically just an episode of the Twilight Zone or something, I would assume. But alien comes to Earth and they're trying to find blood because their planet is like infested with a blood disease, it sounds like. So they're like literally going around and killing people and like sucking their blood. So then the cops like start thinking that they have like a vampire on their hands. So like reading the plot synopsis of it, it sounded interesting enough that I think I want to give it a try sometime when I'm in that like classic 50s, mood or whatever. So someday I'll try and report back to that.
Gotcha.
We had 2 sci-fi bombs on our list that I put out for the poll. They got no votes of anybody liking. And I will admit to Jason Richardson that these are definitely bad Earth movies. But we had Another Earth, starring Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith. And then we had Battlefield Earth, starring John Travolta.
It was After Earth, not Another Earth.
Oh, yeah. After Earth, thank you. And Battlefield Earth. You see either of those?
After Earth. Who was it written and directed by, Shane?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes. So that movie bombed at the box office. Mm-hmm. I did not see it at the theater. And everybody told me how absolutely horrible it was. So what did Jason do?
You watched it.
I watched it. And you know what? Jason didn't hate it nearly as much as absolutely everybody else that I've talked to. So
okay.
I don't think it's by any stretch a good movie, but it's definite. I've seen worse. Okay. So I thought it was fine. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but I definitely watched it and was like, like I would have walked out of the theater going, that was a waste of time if I didn't know what I was getting into. But I
started watching it on TV one night. I only got to they crashed on Earth, and then like the kid had to like outrun an invisible alien or something.
I can't remember any of that, but yeah.
And after that, like I said, I was probably maybe like 45 minutes into the movie. I was just like, I'm not entertained at all. Like Will Smith has like a broken leg and is just like in the ship talking to his kid on like the walkie-talkies while his kid's out like trying to outrun an invisible alien that reminded me of Predator. And I was just like, I'm just not vibing this. So
yeah, it's not a good movie by any stretch, but like I said, I definitely have seen worse, and because everybody said it sucked, I was ready for it to suck, and it sucked, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought. But to answer your other question, Battlefield Earth, L. Ron Hubbard, based on a book from L. Ron Hubbard.
And do you know why he's famous?
Which was the basis for his entire belief system of Scientology. John Travolta being a big component of Scientology. I don't know if he still is or if he just was. I believe he is still like in that religion.
I believe
it. He decided to finally make that movie, which everybody had been trying to make for like 20 or 30 years by the point in time that they actually got this going. And one of the things that my mom loved the books.
Okay.
Like, not a Scientologist, but loved the books. She's a huge sci-fi fan. So I remember growing up seeing a lot of the books and the sequels and stuff from that. And one of the things was one of her complaints about the movie was the fact that I can't remember the alien types that they are, but John Travolta and not Lawrence Fishburne, it's Forrest Whitaker are these two main aliens that are going around and hunting humans. Her main problem with that was that the way the book describes these aliens, that no humanoid could like their face is nothing like a human at all. So she was kind of disappointed in the fact that they didn't do more. That was probably just Travolta had to have his face in the movie. I don't know. It's a really bad movie.
It's bad.
It's a horrid movie. I remember us watching it. We QC'd it for a trade screening, and almost got in trouble.
Oh, really?
Got a little bit in trouble.
Why is that?
Ed Johnson Ott, rest in peace, sir. Was invited to this because none of the press were allowed to see this movie before it was released.
Oh,
and a certain somebody else who was a manager invited Ed when he shouldn't have. And so kind of stirred the pot a little bit with the people that we were working for at the time. So
gotcha. That's an interesting
that
story.
company no longer exists, and those people, some of us don't even work in the industry anymore. So most of us don't. And Ed's passed away. So, a big old piece of shit.
Yeah, it was not good. I've only ever seen it once, and I literally remember never having an interest to watch it again.
I don't remember it having redeeming quality about the film. So.
Nope, not at all. So we're going to shift over to the comedy rom-com genre now. We're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite Earth films. It's called Here on Earth. Bro, how can you shake your head like that? We were age appropriate. It has an amazing cast. Here on Earth is Josh Hartnett, who is dope. Chris Klein.
Your hands.
Chris Klein coming a year off of American Pie. Josh Hartnett's 2 years off the faculty. And Lily Sobieski is like this cute little girl that has to pick between the rich dude that comes into town and drives his BMW through a building, and then like her longtime boyfriend who is just chill and cool and awesome. Like, it's such a great story of young love, and I don't understand how you can't enjoy it. And Bruce Greenwood's the dad.
I don't understand how this is in the comedy rom-com section.
Because it's funny. You laugh fish when you watch this movie. It's a rom-com. It's romantic, and there is laughing moments. The parents are played by Bruce Greenwood and what's his name? Michael Rooker. Like Michael Rooker's funny.
Oh wow.
Dude. Did you even see this movie?
Oh,
come on, man. And the opening scene when he's driving his BMW, Chris Klein is chilling out to Black Balloon by the Goo Goo Dolls while they're racing their car. You have not seen this movie?
This was not something I was interested in.
Oh, bro. On our friendship, you need to watch it.
Friendship over.
Come on, man. Like this, like, I mean, you're out of the age range now.
I think it's hilarious that you and some of our guests are all like, you need to watch this and this and this. And I'm like, when the fuck do you think I have the time to sit on my ass and watch movies that are not appropriate for children to be around? Like, I'm stretching it if I'm watching Moon Knight while my kids are awake. Like,
oh man, yeah, we need to have a long talk about Moon Knight once we stop recording this.
But no, like, it's just one of those things that, like, I'm not going to watch it. Probably never watch it.
All right. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's got a great soundtrack. There's a lot of really good music. It's all that early 2000, like, Goo Goo Dolls, and I don't think Jimmy Eat World is on there, but, like,
Train on there.
Probably,
yeah. Because they were on everything from that time frame.
Well, cool. All right. So back in 1989, when you were, like, 9, did you, like, enjoy Earth Girls Are Easy?
Never seen it.
Oh my God. Jim Carrey, Damon Wayans, Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, like
no matter how many people you list, I'm still not going to see this movie.
Oh man.
I know I've seen bits and pieces of this because it was on TV every now and then too. So but yeah, for the most part, have not seen this movie.
Gotcha. I feel like Comedy Central played it a lot. I'm pretty sure I watched it more than not on Comedy Central a lot.
And I was going to say yeah, I remember it being on, but I can't tell you what it's about.
Okay.
At all, except for, don't they go to eat pizza at some point?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Like that, you got me.
Yeah. That's what you remember. It's 3 aliens that come to crash land their ship, and then they take on humanoid form, and, it's fish out of water. They don't understand stuff. They barely speak English. Like, it's
yet they hook
comedy.
Up with the hottest women on the planet.
They definitely do. Well, I mean, I've never been a huge like Gina Davis fan. Like, I mean, I'm a fan of her acting. I've never found her super attractive. But yeah. What's that?
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm just laughing because yes, it's just them basically like. You're right. She's not the hottest, but like, oh wow, attractive females fell for these aliens. No big surprise.
Yeah. All right. So sticking with the SNL castmates, there was a 2001 film called Down to Earth, starring Chris Rock. there was a remake of Warren Beatty's like 1976-ish movie, I think, called Heaven Can Wait, where a guy dies but then does not get to go on back to heaven. He gets reincarnated into another body but still has all of his memories from before he died. Do you remember this movie at all in 2001?
Did he get reincarnated into a white dude?
A very large, rich white man, yes.
Okay, yes. Then I remember it somewhat. I remember watching it.
Not that memorable, though.
Poster a lot, but besides that, that's it.
Yeah, it's not that memorable movie. And it was one of those movies where like it had, back then I remember it kind of being cringeworthy because it would have Chris Rock doing stuff in the scene, but then it would cut and all of a sudden it would be the white dude doing the same stuff, but obviously it was very inappropriate for him doing it as a white dude, which I get it, that's part of the humor, but I just didn't really find it that funny. So, I mean, it does have a hell of a cast. Like, his supporting cast in this movie was Regina King, Eugene Levy, Jennifer Coolidge, Chaz Palminteri, Wanda Sykes, and John Cho. So, like, lots of talented comedians and just talented actors, but yeah, I don't remember it being very good or enjoyable. I'm assuming as we shift to the drama movies that Oliver
Here on Earth should have been, but I digress. Go ahead.
You digress, but again, you haven't seen it, so you don't know how funny it is, and you don't know about the romance that's involved in the movie. So, we can talk about Here on Earth some more. So Josh Hartnett, like, he punches Chris Klein in the drama department. We have Oliver Stone's third film set in Vietnam. He did Heaven and Earth, starring Tommy Lee Jones. I've never seen this movie.
Never seen it.
Yeah,
never even heard of it. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Really? Yeah, I guess. What would I am trying? I can't remember his other two Vietnam films now. Born on the 4th of July.
That's an Oliver Stone film, and then he wrote Platoon. I can't remember if he directed it.
Yeah, so maybe those are his other Vietnam movies, but yeah, so I have never seen it. So
I might be wrong. Hold on. Keep going.
I mean, we were going to move on to the next movie, but I can sit here and I remember the poster for Heaven and Earth, and like, so 93 would have been around the time that I was every weekend visiting the Marsh supermarket near me. And so I would literally, like, my mom would do grocery shopping on Friday nights, and I would spend an hour or two in the video department while she was grocery shopping. So I remember the box art for it because it was like a sunset, and then had like some kanji or whatnot in the middle of the poster. But yeah, never actually rented it or have ever seen it since then. Oliver Stone's Vietnam films, have you pulled them up yet?
I have. Okay. Platoon and Born on the 4th of July were the ones that we were correct on those.
Cool.
Heaven and Earth was made in 1993.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Tommy Lee Jones, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, when I looked it up, it was a lot of Asian actors I had never heard of or recognized.
During the Vietnam War, a Vietnamese woman struggles hustling on the streets where she comes face to face with those involved in the conflict around her. Yeah, I don't remember that at all, dude.
Yeah, like I know I've never seen it, but I just remember the box art for it. Our final film we've got to talk about is the 1952 film The Greatest Show on Earth. Kind of, in the vein of The Greatest Showman. It's about the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. It was directed by Cecil B. DeMille. I'm assuming you've heard of him at least.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. And they used 1,400 members of the actual Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus cast to make this movie. But then they had some big name actors involved also. Charlton Heston was the manager of the whole circus. And Jimmy Stewart is in this movie that plays a clown. Supposedly, from what I've read, he never takes his makeup off. So he's literally a clown anytime he's on screen. So I'd be interested to see his performance where he's, not looking like the Jimmy Stewart that we're used to. This film, it won 2 Academy Awards, Best Picture, and then what they called Best Story back then, because this would have been in 1952. In 1956 was when they adopted the Best Original Screenplay and Best Adapted Screenplay. So it was all lumped into one. And so this movie's got some awards. It's probably worth watching. So the last thing that I want to do after because I'm assuming you haven't seen it.
I have not.
Okay,
but
cool.
You forgot something, Shane.
What did I forget? Oh, bring it on, man. What did I forget?
I'm being nitpicky because I can.
Yeah, do it.
Titan AE.
Oh. All right. Joss Whedon wrote it. I don't remember who directed it.
Doesn't really matter who directed it.
Matt Damon was the main voice, I believe.
You are correct. Titan AE was the last Fox Animated Studios film. It was directed by Don Bluth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Matt Damon, Drew Barrymore, Bill Pullman, Jim Brewer, Jim Cummings, Janine Garofalo, Nathan Lane, John Leguizamo, Tone Loc, Ron Perlman. But yeah, so this movie, I need to revisit it. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's almost like Star Wars meets Treasure Planet, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
So young man learns that he has to find a hidden Earth ship before an enemy alien species does in order to secure the survival of humanity. It had an awesome soundtrack. Jamiroquai was on it. Creed. I can't remember what else was on it, but I definitely spun that soundtrack a lot when that came out. So,
right on.
Yeah. So.
Oh, is that your typical Wednesday night text from Drew?
No. Yeah. No, it's Lee hitting us up.
Oh, cool. Right on. I'm excited that you get to spend time with him when he's in town next week. So that's really cool. All right. So the last topic that I wanted to discuss with the Earth theme going on this week is Disney Nature. Almost every year puts out a documentary under their Disney Nature title. It's always, usually released around Earth Day, kind of coinciding with Earth Day. And most of them are documentaries about various animals for the most part. I'm going to ask you if you've seen any of these. I'm just going to go down the list. I don't expect you to say anything about them unless you want to, but I'm curious if any of these you've seen. In 2009, they did their very first one, and it was just called Earth. Patrick Stewart narrated it in the UK, and James Earl Jones did the US version of it.
Don't believe I saw that one.
Okay. In 2010, they did Oceans. That was narrated by Pierce Brosnan. Nope. 2011 was African Cats, narrated by Samuel L. Jackson.
That's impossible.
Okay. The next one is the first one I know for a fact that I've seen in 2012. They did Chimpanzees, which was narrated by Tim Allen.
I did watch that one. I think you and I watched that together. So.
That would make sense. Took off a year and then came back in 2014 with Bears, that was hosted by John C. Reilly.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking too. I feel like I saw it, but I can't say for sure that I did. I do know I watched this one in 2015 because much like Chimpanzee, I like primates. So it was called Monkey Kingdom, and it was hosted by narrated by Tina Fey, which I'm kind of a Tina Fey fan, but I really would have preferred somebody else narrated it. I didn't really enjoy her narrating this one, but I do know I watched it.
I think I might have.
What in the world was that popping sound? Weird. Okay, so anyway, next up in 2017 was called Born in China, and it was hosted by John Krasinski. Did you see that one?
I think I did.
Okay, I don't remember that one at all. Penguins was their 2019 one, and it was hosted by Ed Helms. I think I saw March of the Penguins back in the day, and that was kind of good enough for me with Penguins. In 2020, they did one called Dolphin Reef, and it was hosted by Natalie Portman. Nope. This year, actually the same day this episode drops, Friday the 22nd, they are releasing Polar Bear, which is narrated by Catherine Kenner. Do you have any interest in Polar Bear? Do you think you'll sit down with your kids and watch it? I asked my wife if she was interested in it, and her response was, "Is there going to be any Coke in the, like, not cocaine, but Coca-Cola in the thing?" And I told her probably not. They probably won't do that. So, all right, that is it for this week's episode. We had a little technical difficulties here and there. Sorry about that. A little bit more editing than we're used to on an episode, but we got it done. Our next episode is our annual May the 4th episode. It will be our 3rd year that we've done a May the 4th episode, our Star Wars themed episode that we do every year. Our first year was kind of a cluster. We had a lot of people on there. We had a lot of people trying to talk. We had a lot of people with stories. And as the night drew on and on, we all kind of got drunker and drunker. So our first one is kind of a cluster. Last year's, I really enjoyed our conversation last year. And I'm assuming this year, just you and I are going to have a lot of fun to talk about, maybe throw in some special guest appearances here and there. But yeah, we got a lot of fun Star Wars stuff to talk about coming up, and I'm really looking forward to next week. Well, we're taking next week off so that we can record the May the 4th episode, because there's going to be a lot more editing than I'm used to doing on that episode. But we will be back on the Wednesday, May the 4th episode. And then, we got a couple episodes lined up for May, including a Jason Talks episode that's on the calendar for now. Okay. But yeah, thank you guys for listening this week. We will see you on May the 4th with our 3rd annual May the 4th episode.